Well, the 4th of July weekend is upon us, and that means the sound of fireworks will be heard in many communities. And it seems like history is repeating itself, according to our dear friend Charles McElwee, who is the Vice President of the Greater Hazleton Historical Society and Museum, also an assistant editor with City Journal. Now, Charles, you told me about this. I know there's been complaints recently in the city of Hazleton because of a law that changed a few years back allowing aerial fireworks to be used. And you said something like this happened before, back in the 1950s. So tell us how history is repeating itself.
Well, we're dealing with a very serious quality of life problem right now, really pyrotechnic madness. People staying up at night, unable to go to bed in their homes in the city because of the fireworks that are proliferating throughout the community. It's devastating, and it's really harmful for the Hazleton area. And this isn't just going on in Hazleton, it's going on in municipalities across the state. And it is the result of an act of legislation signed into law by Governor Wolf in 2017 that did indeed allow the purchase of aerial fireworks. So this was previously prohibited in municipalities, and before the law was passed, life was far calmer on the 4th of July. If you go back in history, and for example, there's an article in the Hazleton Plain Speaker from 1951, and at that point, fireworks were not the problem that we're seeing now, but in the decades before, it was a problem. And I'm going to read just an excerpt from that piece because it really captures what was going on in Hazleton in the early 20th century. As the Plain Speaker writes, it was a day of accidents, and the staff at the state hospital was kept on continuous duty to handle the many cases of burns and other injuries, a lot of them serious and some fatal. The 4th rapidly acquired the questionable reputation of being the one day of the year which excelled all others in casualties. The carnage aroused public opinion, and demand was made for legislative prohibition of fireworks. After a hard fight, a bill was finally passed by the state assembly banning them, and since then, the 4th has become a very quiet and orderly event. Now, unfortunately, that's not the case now, and we would hope that we could return to those good old days. And there was a piece of legislation, in fact, passed by the state Senate earlier this week that would ban the use of consumer fireworks in the future. And so this measure would allow leaders in Allentown, Bethlehem, Reading, even Scranton, for example, to proceed with banning fireworks. And of course, we would hope the same would apply to the city of Hazleton, which is confronting this, like I said, serious quality of life problem. We didn't learn from the mistakes of the past. I think that's the lesson here. This was a problem in Hazleton and in other cities in the earlier part of the 20th century, and there was a policy response in the state legislature, and it resulted in a far calmer 4th of July, and what many people will remember a day of patriotism and civic involvement, organizations, parades, partaking in the celebrations of what is an otherwise great summer and holiday to mark our nation's founding. But it's a problem now, and if we look to the past, we can certainly see that there was a solution and it was effective. And clearly, what was passed in 2017 is not working in so many cities and towns across Pennsylvania.